A popular WWE star shared his reaction to Roman Reigns' stunning loss this past Saturday at Crown Jewel 2024. The original tribal chief reunited with the Usos to battle the Bloodline's Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga in a six-man tag team match to open the recently concluded premium live event. Solo Sikoa connected with two Samoan spikes on the head of the table at Crown Jewel and pinned Reigns to secure the victory for the Bloodline. Speaking with AC Odds, Wade Barrett claimed that with stars as popular as Reigns, it was difficult to justify losses such as these, as there is always a certain decrease in value every time such a thing occurs. Yeah, it's always difficult when you have a star the size and level of Roman Reigns. You don't want to see those guys losing often, because every time they lose, their value in the loss decreases, said Barrett. The Raw commentator added that Reigns taking the clean loss would only motivate him to get back to the top of the company, to reconquer all that he had lost in the past few months. Hey, everything you thought you had in this industry, you were the top dog, you're no longer that guy. What are you going to do to make sure you can climb back up the mountain and become number one again? It's going to add fuel to Roman Reigns and his motivation to reconquer this industry, added Barrett. H/T. Fightful. Bill Apter believes Raw star will be on Roman Reigns' team at WWE Survivor Series. Wrestling veteran Bill Apter recently suggested that Sami Zayn would ultimately be a member of Roman Reigns' team at WWE Survivor Series on November 30. Jey Uso interrupted Sami Zayn on this past Monday's episode of WWE Raw and invited him to tonight's edition of SmackDown. Apter recently predicted that the former honorary Uso would compete alongside Reigns at Survivor Series later this month. Hard to believe that there is dissension in the Roman Usos faction. I did not expect that at all. No one did. Now that Sami Zayn is in the picture, it's made things even worse, as he supposedly inadvertently attacked Roman Reigns. This bloodline is a mess right now. I think, though, that Zayn will somehow wind up with the Roman team at Survivor Series, and more dissension may happen there, Bill Apter said. Former WWE head writer Vince Russo recently suggested that Reigns may have wanted to get pinned by Solo Sikoa at Crown Jewel to enhance their storyline. It will be interesting to see what the OTC says to Zayn later tonight on WWE SmackDown, should the underdog from the underground show up on the blue brand. In the electrifying aftermath of Roman Reigns' shocking defeat at WWE Crown Jewel, the wrestling world was abuzz. Known as the head of the table and dominant figure in the bloodline, Reigns had held his WWE Universal Championship with an iron grip, dismantling opponents left and right. Yet, on this fateful night in Riyadh, his reign of terror came to an unexpected halt. Fans were floored, but perhaps the most surprising reaction came from none other than Drew McIntyre, the Scottish Warrior and former WWE champion. Backstage, WWE staff and superstars alike gathered around screens, eyes glued as the referee's hand slapped the mat for a 3 count. The arena erupted, and so did the locker room. The locker room split between those in disbelief and others in almost silent satisfaction. For McIntyre, it was both a validation and a vindication, a moment he'd awaited for nearly 2 years. As cameras flashed backstage, capturing the raw reactions of those around, McIntyre's face was a study in calculated satisfaction. In a candid backstage interview immediately after the match, McIntyre smirked, the glint in his eye unmistakable. "You know," he began, pausing to let the shock linger. "I've been saying it for years. The so-called tribal chief isn't as untouchable as he thinks. Sometimes, even the mighty fall." McIntyre's words carried weight. Ever since he and Reigns faced off at Survivor Series in 2020, where Reigns narrowly defeated McIntyre after interference from Jey Uso, the Scottish Warrior had been vocal about what he perceived as Reigns' over-reliance on his family. He believed Reigns had long used his bloodline connections to secure victory after victory. And now McIntyre saw this loss as a dose of long-overdue humility for the once invincible champion. Social media exploded as McIntyre's comments circulated. Fans took to Twitter, Reddit, and Instagram, split between those celebrating Reigns' downfall and those fiercely defending their tribal chief. It wasn't long before the hashtags #TribalChiefFalls and #McIntyre were trending, creating a social media frenzy. Wrestling pundits joined in too, analyzing McIntyre's comments and the significance of Reigns' loss. Backstage, McIntyre didn't stop there. He continued addressing the stunned WWE Universe, laying bare his long simmering feelings. Roman built this whole empire on the idea that he's untouchable, that he's above everyone else. But tonight proves one thing: no empire is invincible. Sooner or later, it all comes crashing down. Meanwhile, Reigns, in a stark contrast, retreated to his private locker room with Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. He was visibly shaken. The loss had left a dent not just in his record but in his confidence. For a champion accustomed to being at the top, undefeated and unrivaled, this moment was unlike any other. Even Heyman, his loyal advocate, appeared unusually quiet, almost as if grappling with how to help Reigns recover from this seismic shift. As the show's broadcast shifted back to ringside, Michael Cole and Corey Graves commented on McIntyre's words, with Cole noting, "McIntyre's got a point. Roman's held that title for over 3 years, but maybe this loss was the reality check he needed." Graves countered, "Love him or hate him, Roman Reigns has been carrying this company, but even he's human." Tonight showed that anyone can fall, no matter how high up the mountain they are. The following night on *WWE Raw*, McIntyre was given the floor to expand on his feelings. Walking down to the ring amidst a roar of cheers and jeers, he addressed the WWE Universe. "Do you all remember the times Roman called himself God Mode? Like he was unstoppable, untouchable. But last night, he found out what happens when you underestimate your opponents and believe your own hype." The crowd cheered, and McIntyre, now fully invested in his moment, continued, "Last night, Roman didn't just lose a match. He lost the aura he's spent years building. I've been in that ring with him. I know he's a dangerous competitor, but maybe now they'll realize that no one, not even the so-called head of the table, can escape fate forever." Fans in attendance erupted with excitement, sensing McIntyre's hunger for another shot at the title. Social media continued to be flooded with support, with fans claiming that McIntyre was the true warrior who'd kept fighting while Reigns relied on his family to protect him. But McIntyre wasn't done. He sent out a challenge that had everyone buzzing. "Roman, if you're watching," he said, staring directly into the camera, "I dare you to face me one-on-one. No family, no interference. Just you and me. Let's see if you can stand tall without the bloodline backing you up." The challenge was out, and backstage, the mood was intense. Heyman, known for his strategic mind, had already started contemplating a possible rematch, wary of how Reigns might react. But Roman's initial response was silence. The loss had hit him harder than anyone had anticipated, and his absence from social media added to the intrigue. Rumors circulated that Reigns was regrouping, reconsidering his strategy, and perhaps even his allies. It was as if a new phase of the bloodline saga was beginning, one that would test Roman's resolve in ways no opponent ever had. Within days, WWE announced that Reigns would address his loss on the upcoming episode of *SmackDown*. The anticipation was palpable. Fans speculated on how Reigns would respond to McIntyre's remarks, and if he would accept the challenge for a clean, interference-free match. In the meantime, McIntyre kept his stance strong, even appearing on talk shows and interviews, hinting that Reigns had grown complacent, and that perhaps his loss was the beginning of the end for the Bloodline dynasty. When Friday night came, the *SmackDown* arena was packed to capacity. Reigns' entrance music hit, and the crowd erupted with a mix of cheers and boos. Walking out with Heyman at his side and Solo a few steps behind, Reigns wore an expression of stoic determination. Taking a microphone, he paused for a long-waited silence before finally addressing the WWE Universe. Last Saturday night, I was knocked down. Reigns began, his voice measured but steely. For 3 years, I've been the best. I've beaten everyone. And maybe I got comfortable. But make no mistake, losing once doesn't erase everything I've done. The crowd buzzed with anticipation as he continued, clearly directing his words toward McIntyre. Drew thinks he's got me figured out. He thinks one loss means I'm done. But Drew, remember this. I don't fall, I rebuild. And when I do, you'll be the first one I come for. The declaration sent a shockwave through the arena, solidifying that while Roman Reigns might have tasted defeat, he was far from defeated. And as the show went off air, the audience was left with a tantalizing cliffhanger, a looming, inevitable clash between the Scottish Warrior and the fallen, but not broken, Tribal Chief. The WWE Universe was in for a showdown that promised to shake the very foundations of the company.